Hello, hello. Hi, everybody. It's Anna, and I'm here with Sasha. Hi, Sasha.
Everybody.
Yay! I'm so happy you have agreed to come talk with me today and talk to us about your experience as a very royal member of the Queen Sweeper tribe. So, Sasha, you want to just tell everybody a little bit about who you are and what your life is like?
Sure. So my name is Sasha Tweel, and I live in the Chicago suburbs, and I am mom to one awesome little girl named Sophia, and wife to husband Ben, and we live in the suburbs and have a pretty cool little life out here. Sophia has some special needs, so we moved here to meet those needs better for her, and it's working. It's awesome. And I make jewelry for fun, and I also crochet to keep warm because Chicago. And I also work for Adobe Spark, and that is like my part-time side gig that keeps me super busy and helps pay my way in the world, which is an awesome thing too.
Yeah. Yeah. So you've been around the Queen Sweep spiral a bunch of times now, right? When did you even first do the program?
Bunch of times. I think it was like 4 years ago.
Okay, yeah.
The first time. I was not the first group, but I was close thereafter.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been in it ever since.
And why is that?
Because I love it. It totally revolutionized my life. Like, I just feel like things came together in a way that I could not have done on my own, and I could not. I don't feel like I could have found it anywhere else. It is so unique and so special, and really helped me take control of the things that I could take control of in my life, and helped me have the confidence to be able to kind of get what I wanted and what I needed out of the places that I needed to get those things.
So what drew you to the Queen Sweep? Were you feeling overwhelmed? Were you dealing with a lot of clutter? Like, what was it that first sort of made you think, I think maybe I need this to help me? All of it.
Yeah. Like, overwhelmed, lots of clutter, just feeling like, again, that sort of feeling like everything was out of control, and not feeling like even one piece of life was like serene and beautiful. And was just a cyclone all the time. And I would get something and I was like, maybe I would accomplish like something. But then all I could think about was like the 75 other things that I needed to accomplish. Yeah. And so the pieces of the Queen Sweep that taught me celebration and taught me to take small bites out of things, and taught me how to just focus on one thing at a time and do little increments, and you'll get there if you keep at it, really changed the feeling I had about my life and how I was living it.
And I think it's funny because people will often think like, oh, it's a program about cleaning. And I'm like, well, not really. It is. It's like the clearing up the clutter is like the thing we do that just sets stuff in motion. But it's really hard to explain, which is part of why I wanted to have you guys tell your own stories, because like, you look at your life now, you were just showing me your kitchen counter and your beautiful living room. And it's hard to believe that you ever felt like life was a cyclone because everything looks beautiful.
Yeah. And I continue with the program because I still have my piles and I still have my pieces.
We all do.
Yeah. That like paper is still a dragon that I feel like I will never tame. But so many of the other pieces are so easy now. Like each time get like a little, going up the spiral, I get a little closer, a little better, and something's a little easier. And it's like, I'm still, I'm as committed now. And if there's part of it that I just am like, I just cannot, it's totally okay to not, which for a lot of other places and programs and groups of people, they would be like, oh, how could you not? No, I just can't today. I'm sorry. I have like these 75 other things that I have to think about. And today I just can't. Yeah. But you guys are all like, you know what? It's okay. You don't have to. And if this is the thing that makes you like, this is my threshold, that's fine. And that's a beautiful part of this program.
Well, and because that's you declaring your own priorities, which is one of the huge things we talk about, right? Which is that everybody's priorities are going to be different and they're always going to be changing. You don't like set a priority and then 3 months later, it's still the same thing. Like you have to keep reevaluating. And so, you know, we set up these habits that give us like a baseline.
Right.
But then from there, you know, right now I'm moving. So there's like piles of stuff everywhere, but there's still this like baseline of order. You know, my kitchen counter is clean. I know where my inbox is. I have a box of all the stuff that needs, well, like a closet more at this point, of all the stuff that needs to leave the house. And, you know, it's like, yeah, it's not about reaching this like static place of perfection. It's about like dealing with real life as it happens.
Yeah. Well, and I work with a lot of educators in my day job, my Spark job, and because they use Spark in school and they, you know, they use it for just all kinds of things in their education life. And they always talk about how there's no end point for learning. Get to a place and all of a sudden you've just learned all you need to know. Everything's changing. So, you know, even knowledge on a certain subject is changing. You know, don't think about the fact that math is not the same today as it was, you know, 20 years ago, but the way that they is different and the way that they theorize it is different. And they're more about, you know, space and numbers and time and all this stuff that it's all, you know, it's infinite. And so we don't get to a place where we can go through a program one time and know everything that there is to know. And we, you know, we don't get to a place where like, oh, now I'm, you know, we're all queens. You know, none of us is like at this place where it's, you know, we're on the throne and we don't have to do anything different anymore. You know, you still have to rule the kingdom.
But you did tell me earlier that you feel like everything works better now than it used to. You said that the paper is the piece that's still like the dragon for you. What is there something though that used to be hard for you or used to really find overwhelming that is sort of become that easy now? Like it's just something I just do.
Well, we talked about swoops, and swoops are amazing. Swoops are like the best thing in the world because I just can tell myself, I just spend 5 seconds, you know, or 5 minutes walking through and putting things where they go. And that concept that you should have a place for everything and figure out what that place is. And there's still things that I don't know where they go, but I have so many places for things now that I didn't before. It makes it so much easier just to restore the order, you know, have the clean kitchen counter and to just, you know, have, and there are certain spaces that are sort of my focus and non-negotiable spots for those swoops to be able to like.
And I realize people probably don't know what we're talking about when we say swoop. Swoop is a very like particular way of taking a really short, discrete amount of time and like blitzing through your house or through a particular area and just like clearing the clutter. And it's one of these things that is like way more powerful than you can possibly believe. I'm like, okay, guys, here's what we're doing this week. We're gonna do this thing. It's called a swoop, and everyone's like, my clutter is way I have more than that. That's never gonna work for me. And then the next week they're like, oh my god, it was amazing.
It was the best I ever did. And you know, I have like a little. We talked about how sometimes it's not like one swoop; it's like multiple swoops. You know, I have a swoop in the morning. I come downstairs. I turn on my my flash briefing and get my news, and I, you know, wash a few dishes while I'm brewing my coffee, and I swipe down the counters, and, you know, while I'm getting my kid breakfast, and I do it all, you know, sort of so that when I walk away from the kitchen, I've spent, you know, the extra 5 minutes cleaning up what I just made a mess with, but I'm doing it and then it's done. Then when I walk back into the kitchen, it's still at reset point, you know, and that is a great thing because then I don't walk into the kitchen and think I have to clean all this stuff up. I walk into the kitchen and I think, okay, this is where we're at. And, you know, I can still focus on everything else that I have to do and not have to worry about the kitchen all the time because I've spent the 5 minutes cleaning it when I was done.
But you did it in a way that was pleasurable. Like
it
wasn't drudgery. It was like, oh, I'm getting my news, talking to my kiddo, I'm getting my coffee on, and poof, it's like. And I think that did you find that when some of that like physical visual clutter sort of quieted down, did you find that it made you feel better, like more clear or more like, tell me a little bit about that?
Absolutely. Like that was one of the big things for me, was just that there were spaces that I knew I could go in my house that were not going to have all that distraction, because clutter is distraction. And when you're always distracted, then you're not able to focus and, get stuff done. And in particular, that feeling of being out of control, I can look around and see the spots where I know I had control over that. I took care of that. It looked great. All right. I don't have to worry about that thing. Now I can focus on this thing.
Especially when you work at home.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Especially when you work at home. Like, I don't leave, when I leave, it's not for long periods of time. I'll take a walk and go pick up Sophie at school or whatever. But, and fortunately the outside spaces of my home are also lovely. And I don't take that for granted at all. But it is something where when you're in the same space for, the majority of your day, you definitely have to have it be something that is less, distracting.
Because otherwise you can be like, all right, I'm going to sit down and write some email. Oh, I'll just throw in that load of laundry. Oh, wow, look at this pile of stuff. Okay, I'm going to put that away. Oh, gosh, I forgot. I have to file the whatever. Oh, I never made the call. And like, you can be doing stuff all day long and you're tired and you're exhausted. And yet you kind of look around and you're like, I don't really even know what I did.
Right.
And it's like a terrible feeling, because it
really is.
It just feels like you never win. You never get ahead. You're always sort of just like trying to hold on to your life.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of moms feel that way, whether they work at home or they work outside of the home or they are a full-time parent and homemaker. I think a lot of them have this sense that like they never get that thing where they're like, yes, I did it. I can check off everything on my list and just sit back and relax. Like,
while you did the first 5 things on your list, 5 more things landed at the bottom.
Yes.
And you noticed them as you were moving about your day. And so then that one of those things that we do in the Queen Sweep is we write everything down and get it out of our head. And that has been, again, really huge for me. It's a great way for me to at least be able to see, like, okay, this is doable. Like, when it's all living in your head, you just feel like it never ends. When you take the time to get it out, it's like, okay, there is an end point here somewhere. And I have to look at this now and figure out, okay, how am I going to tackle it? But at least it's not all like, because that's how it felt before. It felt. One other thing that I know is really kind of a funny thing, but it makes a huge difference for me, is the wardrobe piece of the Queen Sweep.
Yeah, tell me about that.
It's huge, because like I always felt like, I didn't really like, what's my style and what am I going for, and what what do I have in my closet? I don't have anything to wear. Like I felt like that all the time. And I would like doing the wardrobe thing. For me, it took the guesswork out of like, what am I trying to present to the world? Like, and what do I need from my clothes? And like, how can I still get up and I get dressed every day, and I get into something that feels good. And it's, one of my style words is comfort. It absolutely needs to be comfortable, because I'm going to sit in it all day. And I need to be able to play and have some fun, but time it's like, I have clothes now that I feel like they fit me. They represent the vibe I'm going for. I don't like, I'm not like compelled to like just buy something because, I'm like, oh, this is on trend, or this is on sale, or this is whatever, it again, it's like one of those things where it's one less question I have. Like, I look in my closet and I look at things, I can be like, this is going to fit me. It's in good repair. It's, it's the vibe I'm going for. It feels good on my body. And then when you feel good wearing the clothes that you're wearing, then that makes things easier too. Just like being able to look at a nice space, looking in the mirror and saying, all right, I'm having a pretty good day. I put my deodorant and I washed my face and I put on a clean shirt and I look all right, I smell pretty fancy too, but I mean, those are the little things, and I am not by any shape or stretch of the imagination a high maintenance person. That's just not who I am. And so even trying to pretend that I am, like sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm going to do something fancy like get bangs. No, I don't. Don't do that, Sasha. It's going to add another 10 minutes to you. You know who you are. You don't wear bangs, you know? But knowing that, I mean, it's just, and people are like, you spent time on that? You like spent a whole week talking about fashion and like what you wear? Yeah. And you know what? That was a really good investment. And every time I'm like, oh, I get to go back in my closet and make sure everything's good. And like, does this still work for me? Do I still like my Star Wars? Da, 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 da.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. It's awesome to be able to have permission even just to spend that time. And that's not a frivolous thing. That's like, that's work that you need to do. And either you do it every day or you spend a week doing it with your friends and then it's done.
Yeah. I love when you said it's one less decision to make, because that's essentially what you do in that closet week, wardrobe week. You make a lot of kind of hard decisions, but you do it all at once, and there's all this support and everyone else is doing it at the same time. And then it's like you've put in all this hard work, and then every day after that, you just walk up to your closet and it's like, it's easy.
Yep.
You know? And so it's like, I used to spend so much time standing in front of my closet and being like, I have nothing to wear, and I'd pull something on and I'd try it on and it wouldn't look right with the other thing I had on. And then and by the end I'd have like 10 things laying on my bed that I never wanted to hang up, and I still wouldn't feel right. And now I just I am even more extreme. I have a uniform. So I have like 5 of these shirts that are like my favorite with the bat wings. But like, it's easy, you know, I don't have to be right. It's about the decision making. It's like taking that decision making agony out of every morning.
Yeah. Yeah. And you, again, you know that when those clothes go on, that they feel good.
Mm-hmm.
They feel good to you and what you're trying to do. And then you just don't have to deal with like, is this the right thing to wear? Like I'm packing for a conference right now and I don't have to worry about, are the things that are going to go into my bag going to be things that I'm going to want to wear? No, I'm going to wear them because I love my clothes.
That's so awesome. It makes me so happy to hear that. Yay.
Yeah, it's huge.
And I think a lot of people feel like all of the things that we work on in the Queen Sweep are things that they shouldn't have to work on. They shouldn't have to take a program for. They should just know how to do this stuff. They should just know how to keep their house clean. They should just know how to manage their money. They should just know how to like handle all their to-dos and their clothes. And like, they're like, I should just know this stuff.
Yep.
And yet we don't. Most of us never were really taught how to do it.
No. And they don't even have home ec anymore. Like, I feel like at least I took a home ec class. Like, they don't even do that anymore.
I learned to sew an apron.
I sewed a pillow sham. I can sham it up with the best of them.
They should do the Queen Sweep and as home ec. That would be useful.
It's like
systems, manage your world, like
talking about finance and talking about, you know, schedule making and talking about, you know, and all of those things. They're huge pieces of like adulting. Mm-hmm. And I go back and forth. Sometimes I'm really good about calendaring and sometimes I'm really terrible about calendaring, but I always know where to start. And that's important to me too, to like, be like, okay, so I haven't looked in my calendar in 3 months. That's fine. Let's go and open it to where we need to open it. And this is where we start. This is what we have, you know, and always have having a starting point and like knowing what works is huge too, because like summertime was a terrible time for calendars, but now that it's fall, I'm full on back into calendars and I'm like, okay, you know, what's my schedule? You know, what do I need to do? What are my top priorities? You know, and then really able to make it work in a way that, you know, before I'd be like, open a calendar and have an empty page and wouldn't even know where to start.
Yeah. You talked about how the setting priorities, like on a monthly, weekly, daily basis has been really, really important for you.
It really has. I'm not a strong goal setter. It's actually one of my biggest weaknesses because I am sort of always mired in the minutia of the day to day. But when I take the time, I find that when I take the time and I'm like, okay, these are the big things that I'm headed towards, even in the minutia of the day to day, and able to find the time to work on that, even just a little bit every day, it makes things doable. It just makes things doable. Like, I have to get medication for my kid. And when I need to get medication for my kid, I dread the phone call because it's not just a phone call. Right. It is start to be a series of phone calls, and it's going to be a series of phone calls to several entities. And I'm going to have to talk to a lot of different people, and I'm going to have to try and be kind, even when I want to, scream my full head off because it's the 17th phone call I've made and I'm still talking about the same thing.
Yeah.
But all of that being said, then I also just know what I need to do. And I know that if I make the first phone call, I did the thing. That was what was on the schedule. And then, I will make the next phone call when it's time to make the next phone call. And I have to do this overwhelmingly huge thing that, may take some ridiculous amount of time. And it shouldn't, but it does. And I just take it by bit, piece by piece. And that makes it so much less overwhelming and more doable because of that. And I know that it's going to get done. I'll get there. And each time I make the phone call, I'm like, okay, I didn't yell at the people. Yay, let's have a party. I'm going to dance now.
Yeah. And we were talking about how, like, often, if the end goal is like get medication, you might have to do 20 things before you can tick that one thing off your list.
Right.
And if you don't get to like give yourself any credit or feel any sense of like, yes, I did that, I conquered that task, until you get to task 20, like, no wonder we all feel exhausted and demoralized all the time, right?
And why we don't make the first phone call. Like,
it's so overwhelming. Yeah.
Start is everything. So you have to start somewhere, and knowing where to start and then being like, okay, I started the thing. I'm awesome. And taking that moment to like even acknowledge that it's huge. It makes those really overwhelming, daunting tasks doable in a way that I didn't know I could do before. I make all the phone calls at the same time, and then I would get really upset when I didn't get it done in the first day.
So yeah, like there's a lot of, I'm like, wow, there's a lot of Queen Sweep stuff in there. There's like the breaking it down, and there's the making it really discreet and doable, and then giving yourself credit for doing it, and then the celebration piece.
Yep. All of it.
Yeah.
It's all it like, and I really do mean it when I'm not even like being silly when I say it revolutionized my life. It made those things that I have to do. Like, there's not a question of do I do it or do I not do it.
This is your daughter.
I have to do them. But that being said, it made it so much more pleasant and less anxiety provoking, and definitely more just there's celebration throughout everything. There's celebration that wasn't there before. There is champagne and dance parties and bubbles that didn't exist. So great. We do that, and I think that's another thing that's really interesting is that when Sophie has lots of special needs, and she has a pretty tough emotional sort of gamut that she can run when she gets frustrated. But I learned some things even about how when we get to those stuck places and things are really hard to say, okay, we have to do this, and this, but what can we do right now to make it better? And taking that moment and then and making it better. Like I can make her, tell her a joke and make her laugh, and that will diffuse a difficult situation. Or we can just be like, okay, you know what? It's time to have a dance party because we need to feel a little bit better right now. And it makes the celebration when you have a kid that has a hard life is an important skill. And knowing that that's not frivolous, knowing that that's a really critical part of doing and being is a big lesson that I feel like I learned so much of that from being a part of the Queen Sweep and being a part of the community and encouraging other people to do the same.
Oh, it's so awesome. Oh, I'm going to get all teary.
Also, how could I even not mention this? Bliss Week!
Yeah. Bliss Week is good.
Bliss Week, everything. Because here's the thing about Bliss Week. When you're a mom and your kid has a hard life and you're trying to work your job and you're trying to clean your house, and you're trying to, spend time with your husband and your friends, and you're trying to, do all these things. Like, you sometimes forget that maybe making sure you're okay is like an important priority. It's a free priority. Like, this is not a question. This is not like, oh, should I take time for myself today and do something nice? No, that's not like, should I? It's like, schedule that, put it on the calendar, like right now, and make sure you know that you're going to do that fun thing. Because then that there is that, a light at the end of the tunnel, and it's not a train. It is, I'm going to go get a massage, or I'm going to go and have coffee with my friends, or I'm going to go, and just sit on the porch for like 45 minutes in the sunshine and listen to a podcast, do these things, not because, they're things that are like top, like things that are going to make me money or going to take care of my family. They're things that are going to nourish me so that I have the energy to be able to do all that other stuff. Huge.
Because a lot of people think, well, when all my work is done, then I'll do something nice for me.
Right.
But the problem is that we're never done.
We're never done. Right.
Or people think, well, that's just selfish. It's so selfish to take care of myself. But the truth is, my worst moments of like parenting and spousing are never when I'm like rested and I've just had a picture and I did some yoga and I like went for a walk. Like, that is not when my worst moments are always when I've been like working too hard and pushing too hard and squeezing too many things in and like being mean to myself. That's when I'm the worst to my kids and my husband.
Right.
So
allowing space to be kind to yourself gives you
being proactive about it.
Yeah. Like making space to be kind to yourself. Because then you filled yourself up to be able to give to other people. Like, we talk about empathy and we talk about happy empaths because they're soaking it in, but they're radiating it out. Same thing. Like, I'm the kind of person that, if I'm not taking care of myself, and I can tend to be that way because I take care of everybody else and that's who I am in the world, then I'm just not as good at it. I don't, if I'm not feeling good, then it's hard for me to make everybody else feel good. It takes time, even if it's not, it doesn't have to be some monumental, huge thing. It can, like, I'm just going to put on some great music and dance for a minute and, let it out, like the feeling of whatever tension and frustration and, just all of it. And I'm just going to jump up and down and holler and shake my booty and flail my, and I'm not even going to do it well. I'm not even try. I'm just going to do the thing. And after 3 minutes of like flailing around, I'm going to like, my energy is going to be different.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Or spending that minute.
Yeah, I think so often we think that like self-care has to be about like, I'm going to go on a retreat for a week, or I'm going to go on a spa day with, or, like the truth is it's just these little things. Like, we do a lot of hard stuff in the Queen Sweep too. We look at paper and money and like clean out closets and do all kinds of shit that is like really intense. Yeah. But we also work in these, it's like we braid in these bits of joy and celebration and fun and beauty. And like, somehow it's not as terrible.
No, it's not. Nothing is as terrible when you celebrate.
It's true. And the women in the community. Oh my God. I freaking love you guys.
Yeah. We're a really amazing group of people. And like, even people who just pass through, who just stay for a season and then move on. Like, I met so many awesome women and so many people are doing like incredible work in their own communities and in their own homes and their own lives. And then just, it's so nice to connect with like-minded people who are, working on the same thing, and really like just a community of women building each other up. Yeah. Really so precious to me. And I appreciate it so much.
Me too. And where else can you be like, oh my God, you guys, my counter is clean. Here's a picture of it. And they'll all be like, yeah!
Or I need the phone call in the line of 75 phone calls that I know I'm going to have to make. But guess what? I called the person, and I use the telephone like a big kid. And I give myself this paper award now that says I called the person. And everybody's going to be like, I love your paper award.
Yes. Yes. It's so amazing. It's so amazing. Well, oh my God, Sasha, I could talk to you all day. Thank you so much for telling us a little bit about your story and your journey with the Queen Sweep. Any sort of final words if someone is thinking, well, maybe should I do this program? Should I not? What would you say to them?
I would say do it. I mean, that's the short answer. Just do it. And I mean, I said this to my husband when we first got involved, and you know, talk about, you know, investments in yourself and in your life and doing things. And I said to him, I was like, babe, this is so much less expensive than therapy for me.
It's so true.
I probably use therapy. I think we all could, but this has been therapeutic work. It's not, you know, it's not when you're depressed and super anxious, you definitely need that outside source that is way more than the Queen Sweep. But for me, this was the boost. This was the permission. This was the community. This was the camaraderie. This was the, you know, when I have a bad day and other people that are there, they're like, I'm having a bad day too, you know, or how can we help you have a better day? Or, you know, all of those things. I mean, it made a huge difference for me in the way that I saw my life, the way I lived my life, and the way I moved through the world, with what some people might think are little things that added up to a lot of really big things for me. And it, you know, I get to February and I'm like, oh, February, you know, but then I'm like, oh, hey, February. Okay. These are all the things that I learned from my Queen Sweep sisters about how to make February more bearable. And now I'm going to be able to live through February. Like I couldn't live through February before, you know, and that to me, you know, I don't need to go to a therapist in February anymore. I have some skills now, and certainly
I'm all teary. I'm all like,
emergency situation, you know, I will go to my therapist. But for maintenance and wellness, this has made a huge difference for me. And I know that you remember in particular, like when I was like, I'm never gonna be able to do anything. Everything's so overwhelming, and I just don't know how to deal with my life. And now I kind of know how to deal with my life, at least better than I used to.
Oh, so great. It's so good. I'm so happy.
Yeah.
And bravo, because you did that. You know,
I know.
you showed up and did it. No one did it for you. You made that happen. Oh.
Yeah.
All right. I have to go off and cry now. That's so amazing.
Well, thank you.
And I'm so grateful to have you as part of our group. And thank you so much for telling us your story today. And
thanks to everybody who's been a part of this too. I mean, it's not a vacuum. It's a community, and it's an amazing, wonderful community. And I'm just so grateful that everybody gravitates to you and then becomes a part of it, and then becomes a part of my world. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Oh, thank you. Love you, lady.
Love you too.
Mwah.
Mwah, mwah, mwah.